Okay, let's start with the tag titles. First of all, I'm excited that they split the titles, but I didn't expect those to be. Yes, thank God.
So one, I love just chaos of ladder matches, just because it's absolute chaos, basically anything goes type thing. The men push themselves to the limits. They push the ladders to their limits. Like, I don't know, like there was like an overhead shot and then look like the camera panned down and you just see like the legs of the ladder just start to bow. And I'm like, oh, someone's gonna fall unintentionally and actually get hurt here. And then you see Jess Carr, the ref, she's like low-key swatting at Damien so that way like she can get his attention to let him know that the ladder is bowing and he's going to fall. And he is just like, he wasn't having any of it. He's like, no, it's fine, and continues to climb. And I'm like, bruh.
It was broken. I don't think he knew. He probably didn't know what she was saying or whatever because they're so in the zone. They're like, forget it. You know, like, I don't know. Maybe he thought she was checking on his, I don't know, like a wound or like, you know, maybe he was just like, whatever, dude, just come on. But yeah, I feel like he realized after to remove that ladder. You're talking about Damian Priest, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Just making sure. But yeah, he like moved it the second time around because then he was like trying to get back up it and it was like collapsing under him. He was like, okay, now I got to get rid of it for real. But I'm just so glad, so happy that Judgment Day will no longer have the titles.
Finally.
I'm so happy about it. Like, oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. My favorite moment, and it actually brought me to tears because I grew up watching R-Truth. So R-Truth was one of my favorite people growing up, still is to this day, which is why when he followed me on Twitter, and he followed me on Twitter on Christmas Day. So that was the greatest Christmas present I've ever been given.
I'm waiting for that follow R-Truth. I'm just saying. Okay, go ahead.
But I was just so watching him get his first WrestleMania win made me cry because I grew up watching him. It was such a surreal moment for me. And then I also grew up watching The Miz. So seeing the Awesome Truth just get the win because they don't really do much with Miz and R-Truth now, or used to, not so much anymore now that they're champions. But I just love like the cluelessness of R-Truth because I am like that sometimes too. And like I knew he was going to do some spot that was like different from the actual match that he was in. So then he started pinning one of them. It was going 1, 2, 3. You see all the refs on the outside of the ring. They're like, what? You like, do know that this is not how you win. And then you see Miz just yelling at him, Truth, up there, Truth. Like, you got to look up there. And then just at the end, when he had the belts in his hands, seeing him cry, and then like him and The Miz just holding each other. Like that was a moment that I needed to see. Like that was such a surreal moment for me. And I remember I was on a Twitter space and I even said it. I was like, this is such a surreal moment. Like I started tearing up. I was like, I'm watching my childhood heroes in action. Like this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm not thrilled about A-Town Down Under winning. Although it was very nice to see Grayson Waller basically get unalived by being thrown through the ladder by New Catch Republic.
I know. I feel like Twitter, there were a lot of people upset, you know, because a lot of people want them to win. But I didn't expect R-Truth and Miz, to be honest. I was just like more so shocked. Austin and Grayson, I'm just coming to the conclusion that WWE loves heels, okay? Because they love to give them the titles, even if they didn't work for, like, to me, as hard as maybe some of the other tag teams, right? The other tag teams had so many more chances and like opportunities where it's like you feel like that's progression. of a storyline that they should get it, you know? And then they completely like blindside you by giving it to like the heel that's tried one time. Like, you know, like I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I didn't with R-Truth, he's just so funny. Like, I love seeing him, like even his moves are goofy. Like him throwing himself at people. It's like a goofy move, but it works. And the Miz, he tries really hard. He works really hard. Looks really good. Body is, you know, bodying for his age. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know, they deserve it in a way. It's kind of like their aha at the Judgment Day. Now I wonder, and I'm gonna jinx myself by saying this because this has happened in the past. If Judgment Day is going to immediately, you know, challenge them tomorrow, you know, Monday, tomorrow for it again, you know, and because they've done that before and they've actually won things back like that. So I hope not.
What I noticed about championship reigns now is they're completely different from when I started watching. Because when I started watching, every championship was supposed to be put on the line every single pay-per-view. There was always a rematch if the person that was holding the title lost, or if the person that was going against them lost. There was always some type of stipulation added. And what I've noticed now more so is that's not happening anymore. So I would like to see that. However, I'd like to see them not win it back because they've held it for so long. They weren't doing anything with it. They weren't challenging anybody with them. They were just holding them. They were, in a sense, they were decorations for them because and you also have Damien, who is still senior Money in the Bank and hasn't cashed in yet.
Doesn't he have like one more day? Like when does it expire? I think it expires soon.
I think it does expire whenever Money in the Bank is when it expires because it's a whole. I think it's a whole calendar year, and he's the only one that hasn't cashed in. Now, some people are saying that he might be cashing in during Drew and Seth's match, which I wouldn't be surprised because Seth is already low key down and out after his tag team match with Cody Rhodes. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see if Damien does cash in because at this point, sir, what are you doing with it? Is it your carry-on when you fly? Like what?
Yeah. Hopefully they keep it for a minute, but I just feel like R-Truth and the Miz, they're a bit older, so I don't see them, you know, hanging on to it for a long time. I think that eventually someone will challenge and take that away. Probably New Day, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just glad that it's separated at least, so that
me too.
More people have chances and opportunities to win these things. All right, what about LWO and versus Dominic and Santos?
First of all, those two people that came out towards the end, I was really I was so confused. I was like, first of all, who are they? And why are they not Latino either?
Like, what? Who were they though? Like, does anyone know?
It was Travis Kelce, or no, it was Jason, I think. No, yeah, it was Jason Kelce. And then I don't remember the bald dude's name. I don't remember his name. But in my head, I was like, who are these two and what purpose do they serve? Like, I'm so confused.
I don't know. I don't get it.
And I was just like, I'm so confused, but thank you for helping the LWO win. I thank you, but why?
I don't know. I liked the match though. It was pretty good. I was wanting a spank moment. I thought Dom was gonna get spanked. I wanted that moment again. It didn't happen. I thought Dominic and Santos were gonna win. But in my prediction, I did the good team because I'm team babyface. I was shocked at that.
This is why you and I get along so well, because you're always team babyface, but I'm always team heel. But in this sense, I was with the baby faces on this because I'm a huge fan of Rey Mysterio, huge fan of Andrade. You know, Joaquin Wilde now is one of my new favorite people. Like, He posted something on X yesterday with his like vignette spot of when Carlito and his partner like flung him off the top ropes. Hearing his story about how he almost died and his career was almost over, and it was a whole calendar 7 years, I believe, from that day. So last night it was a whole 7 years from that calendar day, and I was like, wow, that's insane. Like, you went from not knowing if you're going to ever be able to compete again to competing on the grandest stage of them all. Or not necessarily competing, but being there for moral support. And then you got a WrestleMania moment. Like, you were flung by Carlito, who is another one of my favorites that I grew up watching. I grew up watching him in the era where he spit apples at people.
Ugh. Speaking
I
of
used
him,
to do that. I used to do.
Speaking of Carlito, I don't trust him though. I don't know. He like stares off at random weird times and makes me feel like he's gonna turn or do something bad or something like. So I don't know. I don't trust Carlito.
Everyone was saying that Carlito was going to turn yesterday. And then I was like, okay, I can kind of see that. But then you had these like 2 random men just come out of nowhere and help them get the win. So I feel like they're going to set up. What I noticed with Ray's storyline is they're somewhat the same premise of the story. The person that's with Ray feels very overlooked, feels very passed up. We saw it with Dom when he first joined because Ray didn't feel he was ready to have the Mysterio like mask and compete like that, which was the whole premise of him joining Judgment Day because he felt like his dad was holding him back. And then seeing it again, a repeat with Santos, him being the reason why he passed him up for the United States Championship, didn't give him the opportunity. And now we're slowly seeing it with Carlito because I have a feeling it was Carlito that took out Dragon Lee. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Carlito. Because you were way too calm, like kneeling behind you. You're way too calm. Everyone else is freaking out over here. And then there's you that's just like, help. And I was just like, okay, they need to set up Carlito versus Ray because I want this to happen. I've been waiting for this since my childhood. I need it.
Aw, poor Ray. He's gonna have like a lot of people against him at some point. Yeah, I see that happening here actually. A lot of people were upset Dom didn't win, or like, Dom and Santos didn't win. They feel like it's Dom's time and stuff. So I felt bad for them a little bit, but not really.
I do too, but at the same time, you have to think Dom has been hidden within a faction for well over a year now. So if Dom wants his time, unfortunately, he's gonna have to go solo because it makes no sense to take him out of one faction just to put him in another. So what I think people don't understand is when you're in a faction, yes, you guys are presented together, but there's always going to be somebody on top. There's always going to be that leader. And Santos leads Legado del Fantasma, Ray with the LWO. So there's always a power struggle and there's always a shift. And you even see it in Judgment Day. Rhea leads the Judgment Day. It used to be Finn, but now it's Rhea. She runs the Judgment Day. And like you said, it's slowly starting to crumble. And when teammates feel overlooked by the people that call by their group per se, that's when, everything starts hitting the fan. And we're slowly seeing it. We're slowly starting to see LWO kind of fall to pieces too, whereas Legado del Fantasma is tighter and stronger than ever because they all feel the exact same way. They were overlooked in some portion. They didn't get enough, or they felt like they weren't given enough. So we're seeing all these groups kind of crumble, which I think is a good thing because these groups have been together for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I guess it's just hard. It's hard to let go of these groups. But you're right. Yeah, I do see that. I could see that happening actually. Okay. What about Gunther and Sami? The night. It was like the most shocking out of everybody.
That was the most shocking thing that I've ever seen. I was watching VP Blonde earlier today, and she had pointed something out that I hadn't even noticed. So when you notice that the camera pans up directly to Gunther's face, he looks very emotional and he looks very upset. So at that point, she even said, "Oh, I think he's going to lose. Look how emotional he is." And if you look at all of his other entrances, his face is like strong and firm, eyes straightforward, military position, all of that. But this time you saw a more emotional part of him. So when I heard that and I went and watched the match back, you can tell that he knew he was going to lose, unfortunately. Some people are better at hiding their emotions than others. Unfortunately, Gunther this time wasn't the greatest. He put up one hell of a fight, though, I will say that. He pushed Sami Zayn to his limit.
Yeah. I felt this is where, because I am a storyline girl, this is where I felt the storyline wasn't good enough for this upset. And they just, in my mind, built Gunther to be such an unstoppable force that I felt it needed someone who of equal merit, and who has proven, to take him down. And Sami hasn't been going through a winning streak at all. So I was just kind of like, it would be like the equivalent to Liv beating Rhea at like right now without winning anything or without, that's how I kind of like see it. There was no build up for Sami other than like a 3-minute promo video of him working out in the gym or they're in the ring. Like, come on, like I don't know. Again, versus Chad, who had multiple rounds and attempts with Gunther, who was battling his way up to be tougher and stronger so that he could. It's tough. And I don't want people to hear this and think that I'm against Sami. I'm not against Sami in any way. Like, and I think that's the hard thing to understand, is that two things can be like, true at once. To like Sami Zayn and his work, but also to see that Chad and Gunther had more storyline and there was more of a kind of, it's the same with Cody and Roman Reigns. Cody had multiple chances, so I felt like that could have been something they could have played on too. But it just, to me, I don't understand how that's going to work. Someone had mentioned though that maybe they're setting up Sami to go against Chad because Sami kind of stole Chad's opportunity to go against Gunther, and so maybe they're building up this like villain, like heel, like Chad.
That I'm gonna have to agree with, because before Sami Zayn walked out for his entrance, they did like a backstage thing, and then they followed him out to the stage. And then you see Gable shake his hand, and he's like, because Sami even asked, he's like, "Are you going out there with me?" Like, and Gable is like, "No, I'm not going out there with you. You're ready. You're trained. You're good. You don't need me. But just know you owe me a favor." So I'm like, ooh, you've never seen this side of Chad Gable before. You've always seen him be the neutral. Okay, well, I had my shot. I'll wait my turn again. I'll get to the back of the line. Well, yeah. Enough times, if you're going to run that type of storyline, make them win. And I got to agree. I do think Sami Zayn did steal his moment, because you have Gable, who's winning matches basically all the time. He's carrying Alpha Academy. Like, you added Tozawa to the mix. So hearing that Chad was like, "Nope, you don't need me," tells me that if they did have him do it, Gable was going to cost Sami the match, basically as a, haha, you stole my moment, so I just embarrassed you on the biggest stage of them all.
Ooh. Yeah. They definitely had an opportunity for that, but it didn't happen, actually. Right? Like,
nope.
Sami did it on his own. So I feel like that's even more resentment. It's even more resentment. Like, dang, I coached him and he won and I couldn't do it myself. What does that mean about me? So definitely a lot of storyline there. Poor Gunther, take it out by a kick. Come on, why they do my man Gunther like that? He was doing so good.
Oh my God, I know. And then him walking out with Vinny and Ludwig, I was just like, cinema. Because I've seen all three of them live. When I went to the Super Show, they weren't like together. They didn't compete together. Vinny and Ludwig did. And then actually, this was perfect foreshadowment because Gable actually went against Gunther at that Super Show for that title.
Right, yeah. Oh my gosh. We'll have to see. I just hope they keep Gunther around and keep showing him because I do like watching his matches. He's a really good wrestler. Really, really good. All right, so we have what? Jimmy and Jay. That one won't take much because honestly, I love my boys, okay, but there wasn't a lot that happened in that match. We'll get into it, and then we have, I think, what is it? Roman and the final boss and all that good stuff. But yeah, let's just do Jimmy and Jay really quickly, and then we'll run over for the last event because there's a lot to talk about there. But what do you think about Jimmy and
Jay? Video package spectacular. Had chills the whole time. Like the promo was great. They cut it. Like you have Jay who still is like, you're still my family, you're still my brother. And maybe one day we can be a tag team again, but as long as you're running with the bloodline, it's not gonna work. You and I aren't gonna be, together. We're always gonna be at odds no matter what. And it's kind of like they're making the storyline of Jimmy needs to come out of under Roman's thumb. But it's going to be interesting to see because now I'm going to say like the match as a whole was very underwhelming in my opinion. So much more could have been done and like so many near falls could have happened, but I feel like it was very rushed and there was really no build up to it. There was like, you didn't have them on Raw and SmackDown the last few weeks to keep building it up like they normally would do. So it's like, yeah, it's brother versus brother, and we all love to see that, especially twins, because we saw it with the Bellas like years and years ago, twin v twin, and now we're seeing it. I think we saw it brother versus brother with Matt and Jeff Hardy at one point too, and now you have Jimmy versus Jay. I expected a lot more from that match, if I'm going to be honest, and not a lot came of it. And honestly, Jimmy needed the win more so than Jay.
Yeah, I agree. And if we look back, Jay doesn't really have a history of beating Jimmy. So obviously I did want Jay to win, but I had watched back their whole history with the bloodline. And to be honest, I don't know. Like Jimmy always was loyal. He stayed loyal. He kind of is the good guy. And if depending on how you look at it, Jay kind of is the one that's separated. He's good because he's separated, but there's a lot of different good and bad with it. But with Jay and Jimmy, I just felt like there was a lot of standing around. Okay. There was a lot of standing around. There's a lot of kicking. But I'm like, where's the wrestling moves? I want to see some moves. I want to see some stunts here. But it was, like you said, it was more so about the storyline with these two. So a lot of people who prefer the more wrestling, the techniques, the skills and stuff weren't too happy about it. But the people who enjoy the background, the story, and the storyline and stuff enjoyed it. I kind of am in the middle about it. I felt like it could have been a little bit more exciting or something. Like there could have been a moment. But I love those boys. They did their best with the choreography they had. I say choreography because it's like kind of like choreography in a way. But, like they did the best that they could with it. I'll leave it there. I like the video package. I love, love, love the ending where they're like, I'm not my brother's keeper. That was my favorite line. And like deep down, you could like see the emotion. Like they say it, but they don't mean it. Like they still love each other. It was just so emotional and cool. And imagine being in their shoes. They're like, I'm on stage at WrestleMania with my brother. Like that's insane. And their whole family and the legacy of their bloodline is insane.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's get it over with. The final event. I'll let you start.
So I really do like that they're going with like this final boss like video game, and a lot of people are pulling parallels to Game of Thrones, to the Avengers, which I just want to call right now. I've been calling parallels to Game of Thrones since the very beginning, but no one listened to me. But then Roman said it on the press conference yesterday.
Yeah.
But just the match as a whole, I was really pulling for Seth and Cody to win. But towards the middle of the match, when Seth kept getting his knee beat time after time after time and just kept getting it chopped down, I was like, this is not going to go the way that I wanted. This is going to end with the Roman and Rock winning. And lo and behold, what happens? But we also did get a very interesting spot in there. You see Roman spear the Rock. And then there's like that hesitation with the tag, like when Roman was about to tag out, like you saw the hesitation in his face. And then you see the Rock kind of nod, like, yeah, it's fine. So I'm like, oh, they're setting up something very, very
Get the lick back.
On. Yes, exactly.
Everyone's entrance was fire as expected. The final boss, The Rock, was amazing. My girlfriend was even like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool! Oh my god, it's so cool!" Like she loves the lights and all that stuff, and the lightning and all that. It was really, really, really cool. But the first half, first of all, because it's such a long WrestleMania, is so long of an event, I was already sleepy. Okay, so I was like going in and out, in and out, in and out, and it was in the middle of the match, and my girlfriend's like, "Jazz, Roman," and I literally levitated. What did he do? What did he do? And she's like, "I think we're coming up on the end here." And so I know that they were going into the crowd and doing all the things, and it was just so much happening. And I don't know where these men got the stamina to do that, because they're not young. They're not super young. Okay, they're like a little bit older adults. And as someone who's 28, about to, one day I'm heading to my 30s here, I'm like, I get out of bed and, pull my neck or something. Like, I don't know how they're doing this, how they're kicking out, how they're doing all the things. Roman busted his nose and he's still going, like, it's amazing to see them do it. But the first half, I was going in and out. I felt like it could have been, like, they had a lot of time, and I felt like it was a little bit too long. But I feel like they had to do that because they want to give the message across that they really put a lot of thought into this about who should win the first night. And it has to be a battle because it's The Rock and he's so hard to beat. He's, the final boss. Like in the game, it's always going to be that longer match, that longer and tougher opponent. They have a lot of stamina, a lot of power. Yeah, the spear, the moments I remember is the spear to Seth was really insane to me. I remember Cody, throwing The Rock. It was funny because The Rock had got the table all prepared and he got thrown onto the other unprepared table with all the hard bits on it still. And I was just like, that's hilarious. But poor Cody.
Poor his mom.
Right. She's a tough cookie, though. I don't feel bad for her. She was not taking his stuff. She will put him back. Yeah, she will put The Rock in his place. Okay, she was not scared of him. I love the little moment too where Roman got like kind of double teamed a little bit, because first he had he was Crossroads, I think, or he got jumped on by Cody, and then right after that it was Seth, and I was like, holy cow! Like, right after, I thought it was gonna be there, and I'm like, whoa. So if they win now, what does that mean for tomorrow? And then like it didn't work. So The Rock cheated. The Rock cheated a lot.
He did, and if I'm not mistaken, his knee actually like gave out on him during the match. Like, because there's a spot where I'm not sure what move he was trying to execute, but I think Cody Rhodes had like kicked out, and then you see him like move forward and try to stand up, but then his knee buckled right underneath him. So I'm like, okay, all right. I see he's very impressive to me, just being, how old he was, and then him not ever really being in the ring anymore. And then to hear at the press conference how he had wrestling rings flown out to wherever he was, literally on every corner of the world and the United States. He has a ring somewhere. And to hear how he was flying superstars out that are the best of the best to help train him, help get him ready. Yeah. I have a newfound level of respect for both The Rock and Roman Reigns.
Yes.
From the analytical standpoint, I do feel really bad that I was shitting on them the whole time, but that's part of my job. That's part of analyzing it. You're analyzing what you're given. If you're not given any context besides that, you can only use what you're given. But hearing how Roman is always going to have to be dealing with like his leukemia, and then hearing him clear it up at the press conference, because I think it was Michael Cole that said that he's actively battling leukemia. So to hear him clear that up, one, it made me cry. And two, I was like, okay, I have so much respect for him because he doesn't have to be doing this. He doesn't have to be, here. He doesn't have to hold the title, but he did, and he does. And to hear how, just how in character he is, and then to hear him get out of character to talk about it, going from Roman to Joe, that was a very humbling thing to see, because you have all these people that look up to him, but you also saw him lose a lot of his fan base when he switched from the big dog to the tribal chief, because the big dog is always known for being teetering on the face, like the line of baby heel or baby face or heel, kind of teetering that line. But then to see him go full blown heel was the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I'm always going to be a Roman fan. However, I'm just dying for a change here. I want the change. So I actually got a lot of flack for picking Cody to win tonight. And
really,
I'm constantly clearing that up. I am a huge Roman Reigns fan. I have been since I started rewatching it. I literally have a Bloodline t-shirt. They're mob era. I have that t-shirt. So statistically speaking, I know it may be Roman, but personally, I really want it to be Cody. I want to see the change. I want to see what happens to the Bloodline if Roman does lose. What does this mean? What's going to happen? And stuff like that. I'm also curious to see where Cody goes with it, what story he creates, if it's going to set up a future feud with Seth Rollins again, because his rivalry with Seth when he first came back was spectacular. And there were so many spots and moments within the tag team match that they can use as a story. Because if I was writing it, you had Seth basically getting his ass handed to him the whole time. That poor man, I felt so bad. That poor man was just getting his ass handed to him. And I felt so bad. I was like, however, if they're setting up a future match and Seth does lose tonight, this is going to make an excellent story for him going against Cody. Because it's going to be where were you half that match? I was the one that was getting beat up. I was the one that's knees were blown out the whole time. I was the one that kept getting stepped on and stomped on. Where were you?
Literally. Yeah, Seth, I feel like Seth definitely, it looked like he got the brunt of it, but when I look back, I think Cody really suffered the most in terms of all the moves he had to take. He took a lot. And I think Cody is known for that. He's known for taking hits. He's known for taking those blows. I mean, he tore a pec, and there's a doll of him with a blown pec. People love that about him. They love his grit and his ability to get knocked down and, rise again. So I do think Cody's going to win. And as a big fangirl, a D writer for Tribal Chief, as they like to call us, I'm who else D is I'm going to ride? Hello? Anyways, but for Tribal Chief, come on. I'm a big Roman fan, and I think that he's going to lose. So I'm just appreciating everything that he's putting out into these matches right now, because I think he's fighting like it's the last fight. He's fighting like it's the last time. And probably isn't, but you never know. So I'm just happy to see him go out there and do what it is that he can do for us. I know a lot of people are mad at him for kicking out a interviewer the other day. He threw out a reporter during the press conference. So I kind of get it. Where's the respect? You got to respect the tribal chief. If they want you to call him tribal chief before you ask the question, just do it. But I love that. I love heel Roman because to me he doesn't feel like a heel. He just feels like someone who is of power. That he's he's like, just respect me and I'll respect you. But yeah, if they lose, or if he loses tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure he is, that's also a big cash in moment for Damian Priest, cashing in on Cody. Can you imagine? Oh my God, people would be so pissed. I think they would hate Judgment Day. And am I jinxing myself by saying this right now? But I think they would hate the Judgment Day if Damian stole that from Cody after all that time.
I gotta agree with that. If that does happen, I will probably be one of the ones that is going to be incredibly pissed. Just because he never expressed any type of feeling for even doing that. From what I hear, it was mainly towards like the United States champion and Seth Rollins championship. But it would be a nice twist, though, to see that. Be a very nice twist.
I think Rhea said it in an interview the other day. She said, why does everyone think he's going to, just cash in on Seth? Or I think she said that, or Drew, that it could be anybody. And so the only other people is Cody or Roman. And I don't see Roman, winning it and to be cashed in on. Now, if he cashes in on Roman, I just feel like it's going to be a failed cash in. Okay. Because there's always something left in the tribal chief. But even if he goes in on Cody, I feel like he's going to fail the cash in. And in all honesty, I feel like he's going to fail the cash in. And I'm hoping on it. But I don't think they're going to do that, because that means Judgment Day would be disbanded, because they will not be able to handle Rhea being the only one in the group that holds some gold or a title, because Damian's ego and pride, I don't think he would be able to handle that. So if he fails his cash in and he doesn't win a title, I feel like the Judgment Day are in trouble.
Very much so. And again, the men do not have a great track record of being successful cash-ins. I think there's only like a few that were successful with it, but the men do not have great track records when it comes to cashing in successfully their Money in the Bank contracts. I feel like if they want to change that statistic, even though it's semi-swayed by a creative angle into which one they cash in, it's a semi storyline. But honestly, I wouldn't be mad if he cashed in on Seth, just because it would make the most sense. But from a storytelling angle, I don't know what they would do with Damian, with him as champion, because he's already established himself within Judgment Day, and the Judgment Day doesn't have another faction to fight against. All the other factions are on SmackDown.
I don't think they care about that, though. I just feel like they care about being bullies, being villains. I feel like you're right. I don't know if they're going to get rid of Judgment Day, because they need a villain. It's like I said, WWE loves villains. So that's why the bloodline lasted for so long. But now that that's kind of splitting up, they don't have that many anymore. They have the New World Order, I think is what they're called, with Santos and Dom-ish. I feel like Dom might switch factions maybe here, but they might create, that's going to be like the new villain faction on SmackDown, unfortunately. And then Judgment Day on Raw. And it sucks. I hate villains. I really do. I'm like, they're so annoying. They bully and they do all the things. It's so annoying. But I'm really excited to see what they do tonight. I don't know.
Me too. I'm very excited for tonight's matches. I'm very excited to see Logan Paul get the crap knocked out of him today. Don't like that man. I'm very excited to see this final battle, this like Avengers type battle, like because we have bloodline rules. So anything goes, and that goes for both parties. That's what most people don't understand when they set up that stipulation. Anything goes. But that also went for Cody's stipulation. No interference. So no bloodline interference, which means he couldn't have anybody interfere on his side. But now that it's an anything goes type play, anything could happen. So I'm hearing a lot of predictions of people calling Jay, like he's gonna help. Like I've seen a lot of people say that they're calling for a couple of like the elders to help and stuff like that. And then I think someone said something about Seth may still help, but in my head, I'm like, if dude can't even walk, how is he going to help him?
Yeah, they need to leave Seth out of it. Okay, because his back. We got to think about his back. Also, with Seth, isn't Seth? Well, I know Becky's her thing's coming up, her renewal. I don't think she's gonna. I think she's gonna take some time off, maybe. But I don't know if the same is true for Seth if he's renewed or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Seth's back is he needs a break. Okay, his back is messed up. He needs some time to work on that back, and he's surpassed how what I thought he was going to be able to do. I like always think back to the Nakamura and his match, Seth's match. He wore his back down, so I'm just surprised that he's able to still even be doing this. So I feel like he's gonna definitely lose. I feel like he should because he needs to get better and heal and just take some time off. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. I heard some rumors of John Cena and the Stone Cold or something like that. We'll just have to see. I don't know what they're gonna do, but
I keep saying that about Stone Cold, and I feel like people only say that is because for the last few years he's always shown up, like for WrestleMania. But at the same time, I was watching the Hall of Fame, and you didn't see him within the Hall of Fame. Like you didn't see him sitting. And normally every year you do see him sitting in the Hall of Fame. So I was like, I don't know if he's actually going to show up this year, but it would be a nice twist to see him. And it was, I think something I said was, or I saw someone say, was that they hope Stone Cold helps Cody. And I was like, that man just like, just be hurting everyone. Doesn't matter whose team he's on. He'll still do it.
Right. It's hard. Yeah, Cody's a good guy, so he has a lot of friends, but I'm wondering if like some Raw folk come out or in SmackDown folk come out to just take down the Bloodline because the Bloodline has a lot of enemies. So there's a lot of people that would help. Yeah. Well, either way, I'm excited and I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.